Do you have something to say? Then you need to start a podcast today. Now, to do a podcast, what you're going to need is you're going to need a good hosting service. And the one I use and the one I recommend is Buzzsprout. Now, Buzzsprout has a lot of features, but the best part about Buzzsprout is if you really just want to dip your toes in to starting a podcast, it's completely free. However, if you're willing to go all in and go full hog, go to the bottom of my show notes here, use my link, and start an account. So not only, if you start an account using my link, not only will you have access to all of Buzzsprout's features and everything like that, you will also receive a $20 Amazon gift card as a special thank you for joining. After your, second month, you'll get it. Now, like I said, it has a lot of things. Especially if you start an account using my link, you get indefinite hosting. So every episode that you put up it's just there forever. They will keep it up for you. Multiple platform support. So that means that Buzzsprout lets you link to pretty much every podcasting platform, be it iTunes, Pandora, TuneIn, and just a whole plethora of other ones. You obviously have to do the work yourself and submit, but, I mean, again, it's easy. It's just a click of a button and a little bit of downtime. Let's see, what else do they have? They have a lot of choices for monetization, be it affiliate programs, such as this one you're listening to right now, actually. And also many different, and links to different sponsors and different sponsor services that you can join to, try and get monetized that way. And the big thing that they have is they also now offer the Magic Mastering service, which is, what that does is it automatically fixes the levels in your audio, so it'll kind of tune out like background buzzing noise. And if if you have more than one person on your podcast, it'll try to even out the volume between the two different people, especially if one's louder than the other. It'll automatically do that. And then all you really have to do is choose your subscription level based on how much content you think you're going to be putting out every month. You can go be safe like I am and go high, or, you can go low, and if you go over the amount of time, it's just a little bit extra. Nothing big. Now, unless you're a complete coding wizard, making the content is, in a way, it's both the hard part and it's the easy part, because obviously you got to have something good to say. No, you don't really. But unless you're a coding genius, actually uploading a podcast somewhere is a massive pain in the ass, and really it's, not even so much that, it's just like, how do I do it, right? Whenever I first started this podcast, I tried submitting to iTunes, and you go to the submission page, it's literally just a blank page and a field that says, what's your RSS feed? I don't know what the fucking RSS feed is. Buzzsprout, however, takes all that uncertainty away. Like I said, you just go to all the different platforms you want once you have your stuff uploaded and submitted, and just hit submit. And you just have to copy and paste and it gives you an RSS feed. It makes it for you automatically, so you have that. You can copy and paste that whenever you need to submit anywhere. And yeah, Buzzsprout makes everything easy. Buzzsprout I would say it's your number one resource for podcasting. So if you want to start your own podcast, go down to the show, go to the bottom of the show notes here, use my link, get your podcast up, get your Amazon gift card, and get your heart out there. Now, enjoy this show. Alright, welcome to another episode of the Paint Booth here on my little Multi-Murdy media network. This time around, we are going to be working on an adeptusmechanicus model, the Tech-Priest Manipulus. See if you can kind of see that. Yeah, he's a big, crazy detailed guy. Let's see. Get some of the details. Try to anyway. Now the base coating is a little bit shinier than I'm used to, but that won't really affect the painting process at all. What will affect the painting process is that this guy's base is a little too big for my handle, so I got to do everything by hand. Alright, so lore-wise, what this particular Tech-Priest does is he uses his powers to either, or well, game-wise, actually, I should say, is aside from having, weapons and stuff of his own, he uses his powers to either make your nearby units move faster or shoot further, which is great. So now, as far as the paint scheme, so you remember my first episode, I did the night legs. So the scheme for that was actually derived from the scheme that I use for my adeptusmechanicus, which is, mostly gray, and then some kind of a golden reddish bronze and brass for the details. One thing that is different than whenever I started with my night legs is I switched to dropper bottles for everything. So I haven't actually had the chance to try this out yet with dropper paints. So that's what we're going to be doing today. To start off with, for the main color, I'm going to be using hardened carapace, and that's going to be used mainly on like these cloak elements, cloak and cloth elements that you see. So like he's got this hood that he's wearing. The sleeves here are going to be that color. It'll stand out more once I actually do it. And then the cloak that he has underneath is going to be this gray. So, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to hit it with the Nuln oil. And then we're going to give that some time to dry. So, let's see, first time using this color. This might actually be a little bit darker than what I've used before, but that's okay because I kind of wanted a nice dark gray. Alright, let's go ahead and get this started. Just a quick stop in the process. So this gray is actually, it's a lot darker than what I've used previously, but that, you know what, that's cool. That's what I'm going to run with now since I'm using dropper bottles anyway. This gray is actually, looks like it's a little bit browner, but, well, like I was saying, I've been looking for a darker gray anyway that the Citadel range just never had, so I count this as a win. The only downer is, of course, Army Painter being Army Painter. I'm going to have to do a second coat because it is a little, whatchamacallit, doesn't quite cover everything. In fact, it's actually, let me see if okay, you can kind of see the color in there. So it's just a little bit lighter than black. And it's perfect. Doesn't mean that I'm going to go back and do all of my old mechanicus stuff over again. Hell no. I'm just going to keep going with the new stuff. So, anyways, yeah. So, second coat, and then the shade. Alright, so a little pause action in there. Well, as you can already see earlier, that's a very dark color that we got on there. This thing keeps unfocusing, but here we go. So, we got that hardened carapace color on there. And then we just put the null and the oil over it, so once that dries out, it'll be, well, it won't be shiny like it is now. And then I'll put a little dry brush over it, and that'll give us, that'll make all the folds and the edges of the cloak stand out. But like I said, we're gonna let that dry first. Alright, so our initial coating of the cloak is done. So now we're going to go ahead and get some dry brushing out of the way to get some of these highlights in here. And for that, we're going to be using this Vallejo color, Cold Gray. Which normally I would have, I don't have an Army Painter equivalent because whenever I first started switching over to droppers, I kind of got mixed up, I guess. But doesn't matter. This is pretty much a new paint scheme for me anyway. But let's go ahead and get some of that in. This is also the second darkest gray that I have. So that's pretty much, decision was made for me. By me, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Alright. See, I don't know how visible it is, but you can kind of see some of the highlights are starting to come out. And it's not too overdone, so I believe this is a perfect color for us to use to complement the hardened carapace color that I already used on the cloak. And again, this doesn't quite match up with the scheme that I did with my other admech models, but new things are good sometimes. Alright, so I am gonna go ahead and finish this up real quick. So now we got some highlights into the cloak, which is what I was going for. I'll give you guys a bit of a closer view. Actually, now that I see it, it's actually not that dissimilar to the paint scheme on my other guys. It's just it's a little bit darker. That's all. Once I get the dry brush in there, it started to look more like what I expected it to. And also the dry brush helps it make it look more rugged and more like fabric, really. So, alright, now technically next is going to be well, actually I can do some of that right now. Next up is going to be some of the metal parts. Now the only color that I actually have right now that matches my previous scheme is this one, gunmetal, which actually it used to go by the same name in the Citadel range, but now that goes by lead belcher. So I don't actually have the red bronze. What's it called? Yeah, I don't have anything to match the Screaming Bell or the Where's the other one? Sycorax bronze. So I'll have to go back eventually and try to figure that out. But for now, I can do this. And there are quite a few areas that are going to be using this color. So let's go ahead and do it. Got a few of the silver bits done, or sorry, metal bits. Actually, really everything that I'm going to do with this color, because a lot of the rest is going to be the red, brass, and the bronze. So we will. Here, I'll go ahead and show you a little bit more. Yeah, we got some metally metals on there. And there's going to be more metally metals of different kinds when we come back. Alright, so the good news is I was able to get my hands on the metallic paints that I need for the rest of this project. And we are going to start applying those now. So the first one that I'm going to be using is another Vallejo color, bright bronze, and this is going to be used for a lot of like the plate or the larger metallic surfaces, and then also just double check something here. Okay, yeah, that's good. It's going to be used for, like I said, some of the bigger surfaces like on his armor, and then also some of the mechanical limbs and just things like that. So I'll do that first, and then depending on where I am, I will also be using True Copper, another army painter color, and that's going to be going on some of the like the edges and even smaller details. So let's go ahead and open it up with bright bronze. so that is the bright bronze applied. And also the nice thing is with this paint, I know whenever I use the similar color with Citadel, I would have to get a couple coats in, but this stuff goes on pretty evenly, so I really don't have to worry about that second coat. And since it didn't take too long, I will go ahead and move on and start using the True Copper to get our trim in. So let me just get some prepared. Oh shit, okay. This one is a lot more runny. So, just need to shake it up a bit more. Just realized I didn't even have my camera light on. What? So in the meantime, kind of see what I did so far. Yeah, you get the idea. Alright, let's try this again. A little bit better. Alright, here we go. So, well, I've been going through with this color, and it just doesn't have the same pop that the Citadel color does. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this right now because I'm gonna have to go back over those sections. Unfortunately, maybe I'll find another use for True Copper, but it seems I finally managed to find a color that I can't replace. So I will let this kind of sit for a second, and we will come back to that momentarily. Alright, so like I said, I had to have to go back and do some of these other small details. Unfortunately, the color that I got to replace our Citadel Screaming Bell just didn't quite work out, because it unfortunately did not have a lot of difference with the brass or bronze that I used. So unfortunately, we still got to use the old stuff, and well. Hey, I'm just doing it out of the pot. Who cares? Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, there we go. Got our metals down. As you can see, the Screaming Bell definitely stands out a lot better than whatever I was using before, the True Copper. So it gives us a bunch of nice details and trim on the armor. And then, yeah, also the same as I did with the Night Legs in our first episode. I'm going to be going over this with the Agrax Earthshade Wash. But before I do that, there are some other details that I'm going to add into. So take a quick break, and then we'll do that in a bit. Alright, so we've finished. Now that the metals are done, we still have a few more colors that are in sort of the same reddish color space that we need to add on, because there's a lot of stuff that's just going to get completely washed over. So, and then that way, if we put all these colors on, we just address everything all at once. So I'm pretty much going to be slathering this whole model with wash at some point. But to start out with, we'll be using our terracotta, and that is going to be used for the handle on his staff. Now, you can't see right here, but he's got a nice leather braiding on there. And I might even, no. Yeah, so just the staff. And then leather brown is going to be used. Nowhere, I guess. Well, I will actually take the opportunity to put a base coat on the base here, which I start with leather brown, and then I add some more effects later, but I might as well do this right now. And then last, there are a couple of flesh elements, which we'll be using kobold skin. And so that's going to be his left arm here is regular skin. And then there's, you can kind of, it's a little hard to see in his face. Let me see if that'll, alright, well, in his face, there's his left eye piece is also skin. Oh, and he's got a foot dangling down here as well. So I will just go ahead and do everything. Alright, so we've done the work adding in a lot of the reddish and brownish and metallics colors. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slather all those details with Agrax Earthshade, our nice brown shade. That'll give us some real character. So, well, you guys don't really need any further explanation. You've already seen what the stuff can do. So let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so we've added a little bit of real character onto this guy. You'll also notice that I didn't bother shading the base here because like I said, I'm going to be adding some more effects onto that later, but later meaning later. So we're going to let this dry for now, and then we'll come back in a bit. Alright, we got all this, this wash is dried on, so, there we go, now you can actually see. So I'm going to do a couple things here. First order of business is to get a little bit of color back into the skin elements. So for that, we're going to be dry brushing with our cobalt skin again. And then, after that, I'm going to, well, actually, let's go ahead and do that right now, because that won't take more than a little bit here. And then that way, yeah. So just need a little bit of paint. And we go dry. Maybe a little less dry. There we go. It's not that easy to see from the camera, but we are getting some color back in there. Just a little bit on the toes. Get a little bit more work back on the arm here. Alright, that's much better. Okay. Alright. So now that that's done, what I'm going to be doing next is, we see there's a couple of different big features on this guy. One, there's a lot of cables on here, which I'm not going to do those yet, but what I'm going to do right now is these ribbed pipes that are all over different parts of the body. And for that, I will be going back to our ash gray, again, Army Painter, and you'll recognize this is the same color that I used to dry brush on the darker grays on the cloaks and hood. But in this case, it's going to be the base color, and then when I'm done with that, I will hit all those sections with the Nuln Oil, and that'll sink into all the ribs on the piping, and it'll help it really stand out. So, get some paint ready, and let's get started. Okay, so that's the pipes done. And I also realized, there we go. I think I actually used the wrong gray, but I actually like this better because it's a little, since the underlying color is brighter, it's actually more contrasty. So yeah, I'm just gonna use that from now on, and I'm gonna leave it like that. And I'm also going to let this wash dry. Alright, the next order of business is to get some wires done on this guy. So you can see that there's a bunch of little wires. Oh, maybe if it ever focuses again. But yeah, there's a bunch of little wires running all over the model. And so what I do with my scheme is I use two colors, well, red and blue. This is the first time doing it really with droppers, so what I will be using is electric blue for the blue wires and pure red for the red wires. And generally what I try and do is I try and make it half and half across the whole model. So I will go ahead and start with the blue, and we'll go from there. That's pretty much all the wires. I'm surprised that there aren't more, but that just makes my job easier. Let's see, so the last thing that we really have that isn't the base is this thing on the top here. So, or a little bit of like a fluid, sciencey vial, whatever you call it. So what I'm going to do for that is we're going to get a mixture of greens going. So I'll first start with our Sit green, and then Scorpion green to try and create a bit of a light and dark effect. If you catch my drift, it makes sense. So first, get some green out. Oh, that was just a bubble. Hold on. There we go. Some real paint. So what I'll do is a little bit less. Paint about half of this coil. Yeah, that's fine. I'll make it work. So I'll paint about halfway up with this coil. And then I'll leave that. And then, using the same color. Oh, where'd my dry brush go? Here we go. I'm going to dry brush just a touch onto the same area. kind of above that, just to spread a little bit, but without getting too dark. There we go. And then next, I'll get some of this scorpion green out. And I'm going to use this color first to paint the bottom of the bulb here, because I want it to represent heated liquid. So this whole bottom is just going to be this nice bright green. Just as much as I can get, because I don't want to go over the edges. Not at this point. That's fine. A little bit of a... That's fine. So just get this whole bottom done up real quick. Alright, then this color I will also dry brush a little bit on the top of the... Actually, before I do that, I'm also going to use scorpion green to get some of these lenses that are all around. Actually, in order to do that, I'm going to switch to my detail brush. See, I got this one camera lens, and then there's one eye lens right there. Actually, I might as well go full on with this guy, because he's got his little monitor screen here, so we'll paint that over with the dark green. Real quick. Like so. If you can kind of see in there, he's got that screen that he's looking at. It's nice and green. Okay, now I'll keep this out. Now I will dry brush with the scorpion green. And this is going to go around the top of the bulb here. I'm going to go light, so I don't... I will admit this isn't the my best right here. It's a little hard to do with a dry brush, but I'm just going for a hint of green. And then I'll get a little bit down at the bottom of the coil here as well. So it kind of looks like it's gassing up in the tube there. So that works for me. Yeah. And then last but not least, using my detail brush, I'll add a little bit of details to the screen here. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, I'll just kind of do like a little targeting crosshatch sort of deal there. Again, not my finest work, but who cares? And yeah, so that's it for the details. All that's really left is to go back in and get this base done. Alright, so we're just about done with this guy. All that's really left to do now is the base. So, as you may have remembered seeing before, first step to do is we're going to apply our acrylic earth to the base, and that is going to give us that really nice cracked earth texture all over this guy. So we're just going to put some decent sized gobs all around. And I'm not really... Well, I am going to worry a little bit more about making sure that, since this guy, the model is kind of depicted as like floating above, I don't want to really get... Oh. I don't want to really get any of this paint on the underside of the actual model itself so much. Maybe just a little bit, but not a whole lot. However, there is plenty of room around the base to apply a generous amount of this stuff. So that's what we'll do. Some nice big old globs all over. Oh yeah. Yeah, that should do for now. So, as we've already seen before, this generally takes pretty much all night to dry, so we are going to pause our progress on this guy for now and let that dry. So this guy is just about finished. As you can see, I added on the, what am I trying to say? Oh, the acrylic earth that I added that has dried up finally and made that nice cracked earth texture in there. And then I also took the liberty off camera of going ahead and putting in our fancy pantsy Agrex Earth shade onto the base to get some dark filler into those cracks. And I even took the liberty of adding a little bit of extra detail. I put a little piece of barbed wire on the base here. And unfortunately the glue does leave a little bit of residue, but we're going to fix that now with the last detail that we have to add to this base. Just like we did with the cataphrons earlier a few videos ago. We're going to use Nurgle's Rot to create kind of like a slimy or like a toxic sludge all over the base. So let's go ahead and refresh our memories to see what that looks like. And there's going to be quite a bit underneath this guy, and we just want to go ahead and glob it on nice and thick. And we're also going to use this to make this barbed wire look like it's at least somewhat submerged. And that'll also cover up all this super glue crap that was left on the base. So we won't see any of this grimy white stuff. Instead, now it's just going to be some grungy green stuff, which we all like. I probably could have had a little bit more earth texture, but as long as it looks good, that's all that matters. I should also mention I did go ahead and clean up the rim of the base. I just put like a black primer all the way around, since I did have some of the dirt colors and elements spilling over earlier, and we like to have our paint schemes somewhat clean. Unless, of course, they're meant to be dirty, like I like what I'm trying to do right now. A little bit of sludge there. And some up along the back here. Like so. And there you go. That is it for the Tech-Priest Manipulus. Get a nice bit of a beauty shot there. So there he is. And all of his techno glory. So, as always, thank you for watching this episode. If you like this episode and you like the idea of this show, check out some of the rest of the videos here on Multi-Murdy Media on this playlist, specifically Poncho's Paint Booth. I've got, what is this? This is episode 12 now, so I got 11 more videos just like this already up on this network, or up on this playlist. I have plenty more along the way. I've got videos planned out through into next year already, which isn't that hard to do since it's only once a week. And if you want to see some other content, I also have skipping through the low stuff. And then, of course, I also have the video version of my podcast on here, Jankety Ass Podcast. That's also its own playlist. And, of course, you should also go to and follow Multi-Murdy Media on Instagram and on Facebook. Going back to the Twitch, going back to the video game channel, follow Gutsy A Gamer with underscores on Twitch. And also, if you want to directly support this show, I also have my my Warhammer Amazon list is also one of the links in all my links bio at the bottom of the show notes here. So, if you want to support me out that way, anybody who actually wants to go ahead and buy a model for me to do up on here, I'll go ahead and do it up. I'll give you a shout out, and it's kind of like you're part of the show. So, or if you just want to watch, like always, that's cool too. And thank you for doing so.